All over India, every October, from the foothills of the Himalayas to the sun-bleached lands of the south, a great festival begins. Gods are brought out from their temples and sanctuaries and paraded through the streets to share in the festivities and receive homage from their devotees. The ceremonies and rituals, the dances and the dramas will go on for 30 days and nights as the people celebrate a great and ancient victory, the death of the king of demons at the hands of a prince. The story of this prince's adventures and final triumph is as ancient as Homer and even longer than the Odyssey. In India alone, 500 million people know it in detail. It has spread far beyond India into Southeast Asia. In Java and Malaysia, they tell it in the shadow play. In Bali, they recreate it in dance, and in the temples of Cambodia, buried in the jungle, it's carved in stone on the walls. It's one of the most potent legends ever to haunt the human imagination. The name of the prince was Rama. The saga of his adventures, the Ramayana. In the 8th century, a version of it was carved on the walls of these temples in central India at Ellora. The temples were cut out of solid rock, and at the bottom of the great pit in which they now stand, on the outside wall of one of them, the masons carved strips of pictures. These show the battle with the king of the demons, in which Prince Rama was helped by an army of monkeys. At the time this version was carved, 1,200 years ago, the story was already 1,000 years old, and throughout the centuries since, it has continued to provide an unfailing stimulus to Indian artists. These miniatures were painted in the 17th century. Through no fault of his own, Rama has been banished from his father's palace and leaves with his wife Sita and his devoted half-brother Lakshmana. The three spend the next 14 years wandering in the forest. Rama is shown with the dark complexion of a hero. Wherever he goes, the people come to pay their respects to him, for his nobility and the beauty and virtue of his wife are evident to all. Meanwhile, in the kingdom of Lanka, Ceylon, the demon king, Ravana, holds court. He has 10 heads and 20 arms. He quarrels with Rama and eventually abducts Sita. Rama, in his struggle to rescue his wife, is helped by an army of monkeys, and there is a titanic battle. The demon king is transfixed with arrows and slain. And Rama, with Sita and Lakshmana, returns triumphant to claim his kingdom. In Benares, the holy city of Hinduism, a modern prince, the Maharajah, plays each year a central part in telling yet again that ancient story. Just outside the city in open country, the whole drama will be played by actors in 30 episodes, one every day throughout October. The Maharaja himself will preside over the performances. To many of the people, he's not merely a spectator or even a patron. To them, he is himself to some degree divine. He is Shiva's representative. The Maharaja will watch not from a European-style carriage, but from the proper conveyance of ancient Indian royalty, an elephant. The people greet him with calls of "Hail, mighty Shiva." For most of the year, this tract of countryside is empty. But for these 4 weeks, it becomes an immense stage, perhaps the largest in the world, and its rivers and fields, woods and valleys become the wilderness through which Rama and Sita and Lakshmana wander. Every day, vast crowds assemble at that part of the wilderness where they know the next episode will take place. Today's drama concerns the demon king, Ravana. In a small compound that stands here all the year, he does penance to the Lord Shiva, the supreme god, and makes him an offering of fire. The words of the Ramayana were first set down in the 1st century BC by the poet Valmiki. Nearly everyone knows them. The speaking of them is not an entertainment, but a religious chant and a way of keeping an ancient holy text alive. Many people have traveled for hundreds of miles in order to hear them spoken in this, the most holy of places. The afternoon episode is over. It lasted less than half an hour. The Maharaja, on his elephant, goes back to the city, and the people stay here singing a hymn in praise of the Lord Rama. Back in his palace on the banks of the Ganges, I talked to the Maharaja about the story of Rama and asked him why it was that these characters had such a hold on the affections of the people. Did they see something of themselves in the character of Rama and Sita?
Naturally, when Valmiki wrote his Ramayana, then his narrator, he asked him, tell me a man who is a perfect man, a superman. And being Superman, he's still a human being. He said, there's no other person than Rama and Sita. They are human beings, superhuman beings, and they go through all the human difficulties, ups and downs of life. Because they go through all the ups and downs of life, the human being, ordinary human being. That's why people are more attracted to him. It's not very supernatural or a very godlike thing. It is human. They are so human. The human appeal that makes it more nearer to the people.
But they are very godlike in many ways, aren't they? They can change their shape.
No, not Rama.
No, but some of the other figures.
Not Rama.
No, not Rama.
Not Rama. Not Rama and his brother or Sita.
Yes.
It is other demons.
Yes.
Or the monkeys. They change. Yes. But the Rama being human, he cannot change.
Do the people who watch identify themselves with particular characters in the
Because Rama and Sita, they're so common, yes, so well known to the Indian people. Yes. And they are our ideals. So we try to become Rama and Sita.
The Rama play over which the Maharaja presides is the most important going on in Benares, but it is not the only one. Each village around the city, and there are about 24 of them, produces its own version. In one of them, a holy man sits in an ashram, a hermitage, singing verses of the Ramayana for hours on end.
जुगति सुनत रावण मुचुकाई मुदति कही कहूँ बहुत झूठाई बाली न कहूँ
One of the great experts on the Rama plays, the Ramlila as they're called, is a doctor in Benares, Dr. Mehta.
Everybody who comes to see this Ramlila know who are they, because they are their own friends, neighbors, shopkeepers of the area. Thus a very, very wonderful rapport is established. Here is the man who is my tailor and he is playing the part of Ravan. Here is a man who is my barber. He is playing the role of my Hanuman.
In this particular village, Hanuman, leader of the monkey army, is played by the local sari seller. He's done it for so long that he's begun to take on something of Hanuman's personality. He habitually wears yellow, Hanuman's colour, and his neighbours and friends no longer use his original name, but call him Hanumanji. Most of the characters in the Ramlila may be played by people who live normal lives during the day, like Hanumanji. But the four central parts, Rama and Sita, Lakshmana and Bharata, the brother who remains in the palace, may only be performed by young boys who have been specially prepared. They are taken away from their homes 2 months before Ramlila starts and live here in an ashram. And every day while the Ramlila is in progress, they receive offerings from the people and are treated as though they had become gods. It's said that in the past, people believed such boys had become so holy that they no longer belonged to this world. And at the end of the Ramlila, they were given a last meal, which was poisoned. Throughout the month of October, pilgrims flock to Benares to see some part at least of the Ramlila. Sadhus, holy men, whose poverty and nakedness is a sign of their sanctity, are everywhere. Every afternoon, all over the city, preparations for the evening's performance must begin again. The boys who will play the holy quartet, Rama and Sita, Lakshmana and Bharata, must be given their elaborate sequined makeup, a process that takes several hours. Overlooking the Maharajah's ground, Sita, garlanded and enthroned on a special platform, awaits the assembly of the people. As the evening approaches, tens of thousands gather around the enthroned boys, singing and chanting. Excitement and religious fervor grows in intensity, filling the air and affecting everyone. After sunset, the Maharaja himself will come back. Like everyone else, the Maharaja will pay homage to the Lord Rama. Here, the incarnations of two great gods pay respects to one another. The little boy playing Rama is believed to personify the spirit of Vishnu, the Maharaja of Shiva. Tonight, Hanuman's monkey army, played by small boys in masks, will attack the demon king. The proceedings are guided by a master of ceremonies who has a text not so much for the words as for the stage directions, for none of the monkeys in the army has had any rehearsal. Rama and his brother Lakshmana are seated in front of the demon king's city. They speak in carefully articulated monosyllables so that all shall hear. In the village, the same scene is being played. Ravana's warrior son, Meghanata, is taking up the challenge.
देखिए, श्री लक्ष्मण जी का पाठ होने जा रहा है। आप लोगों से प्रार्थना है, शांत रहें। अगर शांत नहीं रहेगी, लाउड स्पीकर में आप लोगों को पाठ नहीं सुनाई पड़ेगा। आप लोग कृपया प्रार्थना कर रहा हूँ, शांत रहिए। ऐसा मेघनाथ बल वीर ना दिखाते हैं, माया तेरी चाहत विनाशन इनोवेशन। आज शहर देखना है, तेज और ईमान का सख्त कुत्ता नहीं खड़ा है सर हिंदुस्तान का। मस्त हाथी की तरह मैं देश दीवाना हूँ मैं, जो वतन पर लड़ मरे वह वीर मर्दान ना हूँ मैं। नजर आया मृतक जन, यही जमी है खान की और आसमां है खान का।
Lakshmana falls unconscious to the ground. In the Maharajah's Ramlila that same evening, Lakshmana is also lying prostrate. Ravana comes to try and pick him up to take him back to his palace as a hostage. But strangely, he can't lift him. Now Hanuman, the leader of the monkey army, comes and carries Lakshmana to safety. Once again, the day's episode has been completed. The gods and demons stand in line around Rama and Sita. Flares and fireworks are lit to give the vast crowd one last glimpse of their heroes before they leave them for another night. All over India, long before dawn, people begin to stir again. Kerala on India's southern tip, and the boy dancers who will enact the adventures of Rama here are beginning their massage. It's done with the feet, so that the greatest pressure can be put on the young, oiled body, stretching the muscles, bringing suppleness to the joints. The individual muscles in the face have to be exercised separately and brought under the dancer's complete control. The eyes must be large. For a performance, a small seed will be placed under the lid so that the whites of the eyes become stained red. The dancers here begin their training at a very early age. For 14 hours of every day they practice, exercise and study. And they must continue this arduous regime for 8 to 10 years if they're to become fully accomplished dancers. They learn to speak not with their voices, but with their hands and the expressions of their faces. During a performance, the text of the Ramayana and other ancient sagas will be sung, and the dancer must echo it word for word. Adjectives, pronouns, verbs, all have their particular gesture. The musicians who will accompany the dramas in Kerala also receive long training. The rhythms are extremely complex, one often playing against another and moving progressively farther and farther apart until the two start coming together again. It's not only a difficult intellectual feat, it requires great physical stamina, for during a performance they will have to drum for hours on end. The makeup for the dances must surely be one of the most elaborate used by any actors anywhere in the world. Stylized moustaches are represented by blades of paper. Colors have special meanings. Green symbolizes godliness, white, spirituality, red, ambition and violence, black, evil. And the whole makeup takes many hours to complete. Once again, this is an episode from the Ramayana. Much of the dialogue is in Sanskrit, the ancient language that is now incomprehensible to most of the audience, so the gestures are particularly important. Here, the wicked king of the monkeys is being warned by his wife that his usurped brother is approaching with an army to attack him. The brother is seeking the return of his kingdom. Primeval and elemental though this extraordinary performance is, it is not by any means the oldest dance in India. This is. The tradition of such dances as this go back probably as much as 3,000 years. Indeed, this is the most ancient dance style in the world. Girls may have been dancing with these gestures in the temples of India at a time when stone circles were still being put up in the cold, misty lands of Western Europe. A treatise written 2,000 years ago lists all the movements and even describes those standards that should be striven for. Hands must move like fish swimming in a pool. The body should be held like a horse about to leap. The limbs should have the suppleness of silk. And the feeling conveyed by the dancer should be like the ecstasy of a peacock dancing before his mate at sunset. Dancing lies close to the very soul of Hinduism. The great god Shiva was himself lord of the dance. Girls danced to him in his temples as to a lover, and every movement of their hands and bodies conveyed a precise message to him.
Tells him that her love for him is so intense that the cool moon scorches her with its rays. The sweet prattle of parrots grates upon her ears, and Cupid torments her with his arrows. Therefore, may he come to her and protect her always, be united with her, even as the lotus blooms at the touch of the sun's rays, and the river merges with the mighty ocean. Therefore, may he come to her and protect her. This dance style spread all over Southeast Asia and can still be seen in a modified form in the temples of Java, Bali, Thailand and Burma. But in India, such dances are no longer to the taste of the mass of the people, and dancing in temples when it happens is very different. These mechanized dolls, pirouetting jerkily in a temple in Benares, are a recent installation, but a huge attraction. This temple has a particular connection with the Ramayana. Valmiki, the poet who set down the story in verse in the 1st century BC, wrote in Sanskrit, but at the beginning of the 17th century it was translated into Hindi by a scholar called Tulsidas, and all 50,000 lines of it are carved here in marble as a memorial to him. To Tulsidas, as to Dr. Mehta, the Ramayana is much more than a story.
This man, Tulsidas, while writing this, even in the very beginning he has said that I have consulted the entire religious and philosophical literature and brought it here in a nutshell. Therefore, if you pursue the study of Ramcharitmanas, you will find all the various philosophies and the theological ideas are all there, and along with the idealism, how a brother should behave with a brother, how person should obey their parents and teachers, how they should oppose the evil or bad things. Everything, the relationship of husband and wife, everything is there.
If that is so, then certainly much is lost in such displays as these, in which the gods of India have become little more than exhibits in a kind of Disneyland. But the story of the Ramayana is robust and has undergone all kinds of simplifications and distortions and yet retained its power. In Delhi, it's flowering again in yet another form. Here the drama is told with dance styles drawn from all over India and presented on a Western stage with a full battery of microphones and spotlights in a manner suited to the taste of city dwellers who are also enthusiastic cinema goers. Ravana is portrayed in the style of Kerala. The makeup these artists use is an amalgam of Western techniques demanded by powerful electric lights and the traditional devices for changing the face of a man into a demon, a woman into a goddess. The story is just beginning. Rama and Lakshmana are visiting the palace of a neighboring kingdom to seek the hand in marriage of the beautiful Princess Sita. She welcomes them with polite reserve, but she's already seen Rama in the temple garden and fallen in love with him. Other suitors are already there. The successful one will be he who can bend the bow of the great god Shiva that lies in the palace. Now it is Rama's turn. So Rama and Sita are married. But because of a plot by Rama's stepmother, they, together with Lakshmana, are banished. While wandering in the forest, they meet Ravana's sister, Shurpanakha. She becomes infatuated by the youth and beauty of the two princes and tries to seduce them.
सब छा जा।
Infuriated by her persistence, Lakshmana decides to punish her. He cuts off her nose, and that will bring Ravana to seek revenge. Not far away in Delhi, gigantic images of Ravana are being made. Beside a parade ground, a group of people are constructing vast figures with a framework of bamboo covered with glued newspapers and decorated with paint and tinsel. Not only will Ravana and his family be represented, but also the buildings of his city in Lanka. This is an arm. And this, a hand. All these figures will be studied with firecrackers. This is a very specialized craft demanding great experience and is traditionally done by people who, oddly, are not Hindu but Muslims. On the day of the festival, there's a parade through the city. Commercial firms are quick to exploit the opportunities of a show that will be watched by tens of thousands. City organizations provide floats carrying tableaus from the Ramayana. Such figures are being built in many places all over Delhi, and there is great competition to construct the tallest. This one, with his multiple heads, is Ravana. And this, his son, Meghanada. These figures, at 110 feet tall, are claimed to be the champions of all Delhi. A great moment will come just after sunset. Now, the palace of Lanka will go up in flames. And Ravana, the demon king, will die.
हमरे दियत हमार पूत थके नन्हे कनिहारी तुम्हारे दियत तुम्हार पूत याद पुकार
In Delhi, the victory has been won and the celebrations are at an end. But in Benares, one more episode is yet to be played. Benares is the holiest city of all for the Hindu. It was founded about the same time as Babylon was being built. It is arguably the oldest living city in the world. The great god Shiva was worshipped here on the banks of the Ganges some 3,000 years ago. And the city was already old when Valmiki wrote down the poem of the Ramayana. He even mentions it in one of the verses. It's hardly surprising that the Ramleelas played out here have a special sanctity and are portrayed with more reverence and in more detail than anywhere else in India. In Benares live many Hindu scholars and philosophers, and I talked to one of the greatest of them, Dr. Thakur Jayadeo Singh. He believes that the Ramayana is far more important than a mere folk drama and sees in it profound lessons for all humanity.
See, according to Indian philosophy, man is a very complex being. He is not simply mind and body, the psychosomatic organism, as the psychologists put it. He is body plus what they call pranamaya kosha, that is the life principle, the vital principle, plus the mana, the mind, plus buddhi, a higher consciousness than the ordinary mental consciousness, and finally the Anandamaya Kosha, or the great spirit itself. So in Ramayana, and all these arts, all Indian arts, have been generally following a practice of bringing out some of the important features of all these levels.
Entire story takes place inside our body. I may explain here that we have no Satan. It is the good and bad in ourselves which are the characters of the Ramayana. The Ram is the goodness of the human being, the soul, and Ravan is the ego. Now when the ego becomes predominant and takes over, then all the evil things like greed and jealousy and selfishness, they all come up. These are the parties or the characters on the evil side. Then there are good things like patience, like friendship, giving of alms, and truthfulness, non-violence. These are the characters on the Ram side. The devotion to God is represented as the Sita, the consort of Rama. And this ego removes that devotion towards the God. And when you have lost the God, naturally you see there is the evil all around. Thus, the whole struggle goes on, and in the end, this ego or this self-consciousness is killed, and the devotion is brought back.
The last installment of the Ram Leela in Benares is a thanksgiving. Rama and Lakshmana, after 14 years of banishment, having killed the demon king, will return to the family palace where their brother Bharata has been holding the throne on Rama's behalf. The reunion will be enacted in a small square in the center of the city. The crowds that have assembled here for this brief incident are the biggest of the entire festival. Why is this particular episode of the Ramayana so important for the people here?
Because if you identify yourself with the story, you also or the people have waited for 14 years for Ram to come back. Today is that great happy moment when the brothers from exile will come. And also because Bharat, if they don't come, Bharat will cremate himself, will die. So this is a great moment. The person who was to rule them has now come back.
And how many people have come here to see it, do you think?
Usually 200,000 people collect, or sometimes it even goes to 400,000 people. This is the greatest show on earth of the smallest duration.
Rama and Lakshmana are flying magically from the island of Lanka. The Maharaja, Shiva's emissary, comes to preside over the final triumph. Maharajah and his younger brother in their palace climb to a platform to receive Rama and Lakshmana. They prostrate themselves in homage to their elder brothers.
David Attenborough will be exploring Burma's Irrawaddy River next week at the same time.